Hey, how's it going? Just getting set up. Hope everybody's doing okay on this fine Saturday. I apologize for being late. I ended up having a long, good conversation with my brother who lives in Hawaii. So it was, couldn't pass it up. So hopefully everybody's doing okay today. Let me get some of this volume adjusted. If it's too loud, let me know. It's always hard to tell just because the way that Go XLR does some things. So hopefully everybody's doing okay. Hopefully everybody's having a good Saturday. So wow, it looks like we had some follows right when I got started here. So thank you so much for the follow. Vinicius, sorry, need my glasses. And you saw me maybe kind of, sort of, put on some eye drops because my eyes get really dry when I look at screens. I think it does with most people, but they really affect me. But anyways, thanks for the follow. DZ89, dude, your code server is awesome. I have mine up and running with Rancher, no problems. Hey, good to hear. Yeah, it was, you know, I thought that this could go either way because one, not everybody writes code, but two, I didn't know if it was really going to work as awesome as it did. So, hey, thanks for the compliments on the video, but really all compliments should go to the team that built Code Server because it is awesome. Like, I am like, whoa, you know, now I can bring my tablet with me or my phone and actually commit some code if I really want to and push it up. Because there are some services I have where I need to, you know, I can check on most of my services here and look at them and, you know, I log out and I can see if there are errors, but there are some times when I need to put a fix in place really quick for certain things. I'm not going to say what they are, but now it's awesome. I can commit right from there, push it up. I could even release too, which is awesome. I release my code and I have my CI pipeline set up a certain way, and maybe I'll share it someday of how I release my code. So as long as I have a terminal that I can clone a repo and commit and push it up, I can release my code anywhere. So yeah, I think someone in this channel mentioned it probably about 2-3 months ago about Code Server, and I was like, that sounds interesting. And so when I started digging into it, I was like, that's awesome because I get exactly VS Code in the browser. And so, but I think it's good for other reasons too, even if you don't write code. A lot of people manage, I mean, it's one of the best editors out there. I know you have options like Atom or Sublime or Notepad or really anything. So, but I think Microsoft's done something awesome with VS Code. And I'm not here to tell you which editor to use, but I think it's awesome. Abexis, hopefully I pronounced that right. Hello from Israel. Hey, well, hello from the United States. Welcome to the channel. DZ, super stoked to talk tech. All right. The video on Pop! OS was wonderful. Oh, thank you. There were so many speed bumps along the way. I'm glad you thought so. Yeah, yeah, there were some challenges getting it set up in the beginning. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. After I streamed, I was like, that was, yeah. Anyways, I won't go into it. I'm very critical of myself. And when I look through videos, I'm super critical of myself, so I appreciate it. And I want other people to be critical too, because like I always say, feedback is a gift. And, you know, any feedback people can give helps me make myself better and helps me make a better product, which is videos and tutorials and stuff like that. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much. DZ89, I didn't even know this technology existed. Now I edit code on the road. Yeah, for sure. Same here. Like I said, someone mentioned it a couple of months ago, and just real quick, they were like, go deep and go crazy on all your videos. And I was like, oh man, how deep and how crazy do I go? Because like the rabbit hole of what I'm interested in goes pretty deep in tech. And it's pretty low level for most people. And I'm always trying to gauge, like, you know, how high or how low do I go? You know, do I keep it super high level? And so for people who have done, you know, spinning up services at home, this is pretty high level. But then, you know, for some people who haven't done it yet, or even used Docker or Kubernetes, or even just plain old Docker, it's pretty low level. So I'm still trying to gauge that. I think I think I'm gonna go deep though and stay niche because that's where I like to be. Because that's how people found me. So I'm gonna keep doing that for sure. But yeah, I appreciate it. What's up, Christian CC97? Hey, how's it going? Thank you. Desi, has anyone in the stream tried self-hosting Bitwarden in a Kate stack? That's interesting that you asked that because I've thought about the same thing, and this video almost turned into that. So I haven't done it yet, and I use LastPass. I know Bitwarden's super good. LastPass super awesome. 1Pass are probably all pretty good, but I've been thinking about it, and so 2 weeks ago, when I was thinking, I have a weird release schedule for my videos, because I have a full-time job. So, I mean, if you look at that commit, you can tell when I recorded the video, which was last week, Sunday. Anyways, long story short, this video almost became that. But when I spun this up and saw how awesome it was, this became that. So anyways, I might have a video on Bitwarden at some point. I just need to understand a little bit more of how it works. And that's because I don't go super deep and know the ins and outs of everything I work on, but I still need to make sure, one, it works, two, I understand how it works, and then three, give a decent recommendation on how to set it up. So definitely interested in Bitwarden. Seems to be gaining a lot of popularity lately. And if I get that up and going, I will definitely create some content on it. So I appreciate it. But yeah, that being said, Abexis, I'm using Unraid. Are you going to try using the system? You may try to help those who want guidance in the Unraid system. You know what? I've considered it, and I know it's a popular choice. And I almost spun it up myself because I saw how easy it was to pass through GPUs and do a lot of the things that, that I'm interested in or that I need from my hypervisor. I guess I'll say it that way, from my hypervisor, because I do virtualization and I do containerization. So will I ever? I'm not sure. If I find a need for it someday, I may. I just don't have yet another machine, bare metal machine I could spin up Unraid on. And I know it's a paid product, and I have no problem, paying the licensing fee, because people need to make money, otherwise Unraid wouldn't exist. Maybe if it was open source, maybe, but they'd still have some kind of support model or some kind of monetization tied to that. Is what most open source projects do. But I haven't had a chance yet. When I was evaluating hypervisors, when I was evaluating Proxmox and then whatever else didn't work, Unraid was right after Proxmox. And so if I didn't figure out how to pass through GPUs to Proxmox, Unraid was my next choice because that's what I needed. I needed it for doing a lot of my video encoding on multiple machines. So maybe someday, I'd like to check it out. I know it's super popular and I have nothing against it. I know, it kind of goes, back and forth. But at the end of the day, it seems like a super solid system to do virtualization. You get just a bunch of disks, arrays. You can do Docker. You can do anything in there. So it looks cool. Just haven't had the opportunity yet. The idea behind it is awesome. Is that you basically get this all-in-one, basically like small business servers used to be back in the day, where you can have everything all in one. And it's very similar to what TrueNAS is doing now, or FreeNAS now. Doing this all in one. We're going to give you everything. You pick and choose. Choose your own adventure. We're based on whatever. We're hypervisor first, or we're storage first, or we're consumer first, which I think is where Unraid is really playing. So we'll see how it goes. If I have bare metal one day, an extra machine, and have the time, I would definitely dig into it. So anyways, that's my high level of why I haven't done a ton of Unraid stuff yet. It's because I've been able to figure everything out in Proxmox. Takano, hey, how's it going, man? How's your rack journey going? Sorry, a little behind on comments. Asmindia, been thinking of that too. Hi, by the way. Hey, how's it going? That looks like a newer name. Welcome to the stream. If you were here another time, I apologize. maybe you didn't say anything, but welcome. Christian CC, Bitwarden is awesome. Cool. Thanks for looking forward to your videos. Yeah, Christian C97. I'm just going to say Christian because that's Christian. Yep. Because that's a little bit easier than everything else that comes after, especially with these glasses. One day I'm going to get new glasses. I have a new prescription. I've just been on the fence about getting a new pair. But Bitwarden is awesome. Yeah, I hear tons of great stuff about it. I do hear that you still need to pay, even if you do the self-hosted option. And I think it's to share. So that's a big part of a secure password system for me is the ability to securely share too. And I don't mind paying Bitwarden at all, but just kind of reflecting on some of the things I've heard about it. Beckus, thanks, looking cool. Looking forward to your videos, thank you. DZ, I would bet some of your viewers would benefit from the setup of a reverse proxy in front of code server with an SSL certificate and connected over VPN. 100% agree, 100% agree. And, I threw that little teaser out there hoping that people would be interested in that because I think that's the missing link now between a lot of the stuff that I've been teaching or talking about and making this real for a lot of people. For me personally, I VPN into my infrastructure and do a lot of stuff there. But still, I do think you need an SSL certificate in front of it. Even if you're doing stuff locally, just because you never know what's listening to that traffic. So yeah, I totally agree. I have some things to figure out. I've been doing this huge mass migration over the last 24 hours of I'm dog fooding my own stuff now. I've been on Rancher 1 for a long time and it's worked fantastic. And I've been partially in between Rancher 2. And so I'll have an external and internal cluster. They're not really sitting outside of my house, but they have access to different types of data. And so anyways, my internal one is fully migrated to 2. I need to get my external one fully migrated to 2. And a big part of that is going to be setting up a reverse proxy. Currently, I use Rancher's load balancer on Rancher 1. Works great, but there are some good alternatives out there. So yeah, I totally agree. Christian, do you make more content about infra or other topics as well? Do you make content more about infra or other topics as well? I do all types of topics. That's why I tried not to name my channel. I had such a hard time figuring out what the name of my channel should be because I'm like, how are people gonna know that this is what this channel is about? And so I do all types of topics. I mean, I have a topic on how to set up Streamlabs on a Mac and how to stream. And then I have topics on how to write code, how to write or use my open source Discord bot or my Twitch bot or a Slack bot for, enterprisey people, which, I think a lot of people are. But then there's the how to do it on Discord for the people who aren't so enterprisey. And so I'm kind of all over the place. So my channel is mainly what I do, because this is 4 people in my life have ever asked me, what the heck do you have running at home? But people on the internet do ask me. So real people, 4 people have asked me, and that's where I was like, I'd send them tons of links and have to explain stuff and say, well, when you do it, make sure you use this config right here, or, here's where the landmines are, don't go there, go this way. And so a lot of my channel is just that. It's things I've learned, things I figured out, and things I want to share with people. So to answer your question, it's all over the place. I am really interested in infrastructure. And code. And so that's where, and games for sure, absolutely for games. But there's plenty of stuff people can find on games. I try to do the technology around gaming, technology around streaming, and then a lot of the technology around self-hosting stuff, which a large part of that is infrastructure, as you know. So that's kind of where I'm at. I don't, hopefully it's okay. But I'm always open to suggestions like code server. I would not have known this exists if someone didn't mention to me a couple months ago. And so my opinions can be swayed. There are new products out all the time. And so if they are out there, I'm going to evaluate them, get them working. figure out if it's something that other people are interested in. And it just has to have, for me, like it kind of an awesome factor. So in VS Code or Code Server, I keep calling it VS Code, and I had to do that because people can relate to it. But it's technically, I think, called Code Server. So anyways, long story short, it's going to be a lot of infrastructure, a lot of self-hosting stuff, which is also infrastructure, home lab, obviously infrastructure, and then code. And so I've got some things coming soon because I know there are people who write code that want to then add that to their own infrastructure. And so that's how, my whole entire strategy. I don't care. I'm an open book. That's where I'm going to start bridging some of my content because there are people who are interested in code who want to host their stuff but aren't interested in infrastructure or know a lot about infrastructure. Not that I do. And then there are people who are in infrastructure that may not write a lot of code but would like to. But they know they're awesome at networking, hosting, certificates, reverse proxies, like all of the core stuff you need to host your own code. They're really good at. So that's where I'm kind of trying to bring these together. And Craven, last time he was on stream, I don't know if he's here now. He asked a similar question, and so I kind of spilled the beans on it a little bit. But I'm like I said, I'm kind of an open book and also wear my heart on my sleeve. So, anyways. You probably, I still need a cool story, bro, emote, because one day you guys can spam it when I'm going off in the weeds. Anyways, so yeah, thank you so much for asking that question and for making that comment. Also saying I'm one of your favorite channels, which that's super humbling to me because there are so many out there, and I'm so new at this. Like this is all new to me. The Twitch, not so much. YouTube, very. Editing videos, very. It's all kind of new to me, so I appreciate it. Takano, so looking good. Switching my unmanaged PoE switch over to a managed one as well as I segment my network a lot. Cool. Yeah, that sounds awesome. This switch trunks VLANs and the like without stripping the tags, but it doesn't allow VLANs per specific port. If the device supports it in the settings, then it works. But most consumer devices don't give that option. Yeah, that sounds pretty awesome. And I'm super glad you're really into networking and VLANs because I know that a lot of people have questions about that in general or talk about my lack of use of VLANs sometimes. And I understand the value in VLANs, just haven't had a ton of experience with it yet. So really appreciate your knowledge and also helping out in the Discord channel. It's super helpful of you. And I love tracking your journey of creating this awesome rack. Hey, Dr. HCC, DRHCC, Dr. HCC. Hey, how's it going? This is my second time joining the live stream. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for being here. Daisy, Fashizi, Techno Tim, bro, your knowledge and contribution are much appreciated. Oh, thanks. Yeah, like I said, like I'm just kind of documenting what I figure out and throwing it out there. So I appreciate that. I'm Lymanson. Hey, you're back. Hey, Techno Tim, do you know if older generation servers work through HDMI or do I need a VGA cable and a VGA monitor? Is this in respect to like passing through a GPU? What do you mean? I'm Lymanson. Do you know if older generation servers work through HDMI or do I need a VGA cable? I mean, just in general, if your server has HDMI out, like it should work. If you have a PCI Express slot in that server and you plug it in and that has HDMI out, it's going to work. I've mostly dealt with a lot of older server equipment because one, I bought a used server, and two, way back when I racked, I don't know, 10 servers, no server came with HDMI. That could all change. It could be different. But if it's there, it should output HDMI. Like how can I initially set up my server? Oh, gotcha. Do the used servers have VGA or HDMI? Mine has VGA, I think. And so in my basement, I have a workbench that has old monitors, like monitors people didn't want anymore or that I've upgraded and hand me down the best one to family or friends, or donated, and then the worst one becomes my workbench one, the best of the worst. And so I have one that has both DVI and VGA, so I'm able to plug it in. And the cool thing about it is it has both VGA and DVI, and I have 2 servers down there, so I can plug one into each and just toggle back and forth between it. But if you'll just have to look, depends on your model. I would say that most aren't gonna have HDMI if you're buying a used one, because that seems like an unnecessary cost for someone manufacturing that server, because most people aren't gonna have HDMI KVMs in their data center. Could be wrong, but most of the time they're going to have the lowest common denominator, which is a DVR or VGA. VGA for sure, because that's been out forever. So anyways, if you're going to set it up for the first time, if you don't have IPMI, which is pretty awesome, you're going to have to plug it into something. So maybe that's an old monitor, and I mean, you can probably find one on eBay for, not even eBay, Craigslist for $10-20 if it's just VGA. You just need 800 by 600 just to get through the install. Probably even a lower res than that with VGA, and then keep it there or resell it or donate it. But yeah, so. But if you have is it IPMI? Then you can remote in to that network card and then see your whole entire display, and it's 100% headless, like 0 head ever, because you're remoting into something that's capturing the display and passing those keyboard commands through. So like my Dell has iDRAC, which I can, but still it's something about having that monitor and physical keyboard there during the initial setup I enjoy. But for BIOS updates and stuff like that, which is rare, I'll use it that way. But then you can mount the ISO too, and depending on that adapter, what it supports, and whoever supports it, typically you can pass through keyboard commands, video, mount an ISO, and do that all over the network, and emulate USB and CD drives so that you don't ever have to even look at it. Just once it gets an IP address from DHCP, then you can do it that way. But that's all under the preface that it has one of those cards. But a lot of old enterprise ones do, which is awesome. Hello, Tim. We met on Twitter today, I think, or yesterday. DJ Cherokee, hey, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Yeah, how are you? Wolf Norik. All servers have VGA. Yeah, good call. Yeah, I think so. I think it's the lowest common denominator. It's been out for so long that I think they know if they put it on there, you're going to be okay. And most KVMs, are going to have VGA too, so that you can toggle between all your inputs. But yeah, awesome. I'm Lymanson. Okay, I'm looking at Dell server, so maybe the iDRAC controller will help with the initial setup. Yeah, it does. If you're gonna run completely headless, like I said, you could, if it has an iDRAC controller, if it's Dell or something else, they'll have branded it something different, but the idea is the same. Once you power it on, plug it into a network, you'll get a DHCP address. Once you get the DHCP address, you have to look at your, figure out what the address is. Then you might need some software. It might host it through the web. And if it hosts it through the web, then you get, a terminal right into that device, which is pretty cool for initial setup. And then typically they might have something to mount storage. And then if you can mount the storage, then you just send a reboot command, boot from storage, which is, emulated over the network, put in your, virtually mount your Proxmox ISO or whatever OS you're going to install on it and boot from there. It's pretty cool. I always say, back in the day, when I had to, rack some servers, I just thought remote management was that's the icing on the cake. And I was like, man, if I ever get remote management, that's how I know I made it. This is younger me thinking about how awesome it was that I could actually get into the BIOS screen over the network. I thought once I'm able to do that, there's no stopping me. And, obviously it doesn't even matter, but that was just my thought being young and working on old servers, or new servers at the time, old now. Wolf Norik, go with Dell iDRAC Enterprise, best iDRAC 7, HTML5, and Virtual Console. 100% agree, because I have iDRAC 6, and that takes some super crusty old version of Java that I have to get and install and like bypass like a whole bunch of security security warnings to get an old version of Java installed. So I had it like installed on a virtual machine, and that's all it does. Like I never want to install that version of Java on my main machine. Yeah, totally agree. If you can get an iDRAC 7, heck yes, because like you mentioned, HTML5 and a virtual console. And you don't have to do it through a Java plugin, which is like, yeah, there's a time and a place for Java, but I think they did it way back then is because, you know, HTML wasn't ready yet for what you're trying to do. Techno, still remember when my rack mount monitor keyboard almost caught fire. Oh, wow. Still confused what happened there, as it's now working fine. Just weary of installing it, so I'm just keeping it just in case. Yeah, that's interesting. Like, how does a KVM start on fire? Yeah, no clue, no clue. Must, yeah, something's touching that shouldn't. Or it's getting too hot, but that doesn't, I don't know. Do KVMs get super hot? Not that I remember. Could be. Wolf Norik, iDRAC 6 is Java only, and it may be hard to set up initially. Totally agree. That's the pain I go through. But you know, like I don't know, with my iDRAC, like I rarely ever have to use it, because once you get an OS running, then it's like, yep, don't have to do it. Sometimes when you reboot, it's nice to know that it's actually coming back up. So if I ever reboot that server, I'll open up the iDRAC page. And they like capture screenshots of that page, like, I don't know, every 30 seconds, 60 seconds. So I'll keep that page open without Java and just like look at the screenshot and like, yeah, it's still booting. Yeah, it's still booting. Okay, now it's up. But at the same time, I'm pinging it too. But yeah, good call. DJ Cherokee TV, good, thanks. You sound great, nice voice. Great to meet and hear you. Thank you. I don't know, thanks. Wow, I'm almost blushing, kind of. But yeah, no, I think this microphone helps my voice a lot. I feel like my voice is kind of, it's a little groggy today, and I think it has to do with the weather. So it's like, I kind of have that like kind of cold voice right now, even though I don't have a cold, don't know what's going on. I think it's the extreme change in the weather the last day, and tons of talking, and then like having the AC on. So it's a little raspy. It's not usually this deep, but I wish it was always like this. And this microphone helps a ton. This Rode microphone is fantastic. And it's things like 99 bucks, like one of the cheapest, you know, XLR mics you can get out there. That's decent, and it just does a fantastic job. So it's great for live streaming, but not so much for recording my videos. But yeah, appreciate it. Thank you. DZ, just out of curiosity, do you run management IPMI on its own VLAN? I don't. So I have this idea, and it might not be the best idea, but I have like my secure network, and then I have like everything else. And my secure network are devices I own, and you know that I can physically plug in to it. Everything else that I host externally or whatever, it's totally segmented into another network that only exists 100% virtual. So there's no physical, there's no way that anything on my DMZ or my other segment of my network could communicate with this network, because it's virtually separated. I take that back. I do have some firewall rules so that I can let me do some stuff to that, but the rule is only for incoming into the network. So long story short, like I probably need to do some VLANing at some point in the future. I would love your guys' advice, because I'm definitely not a network guru. I know enough to be dangerous, but so I don't have 2 VLANs. I have 3 networks, one for wireless, one for public facing stuff. That is, I don't trust anything, zero trust in the network, and then my trusted network. And so wireless isolates every single client, and they can't do much, wireless guest. Then I have my physical network that's trusted, and then my virtual network that is totally untrusted. And so I probably should set up some VLANs at some point to tag those packets and segment my traffic even more. Just haven't had the time or the thought to put into it yet, and I want to make sure I want to do it right. So I'd love your opinion. So yeah, DZ, hope that answers your question. Just haven't crossed that bridge yet. Takano, the PS2 cords get extremely hot and started to smell. Pulled the power instantly and removed the connection from my server. That's interesting that the PS2s get hot. Yeah, that doesn't seem right. I mean, I've messed with a ton of PS2 keyboards and mice back in the day. I don't remember them getting hot. Maybe it's at the actual KVM place. Same with the bottom of it. Took it apart and nothing seemed burnt or anything, but tested in other devices. While the PS2s didn't work, it just came back out of nowhere. Yeah, I would probably not plug that guy in, or if you do, like take it out somewhere and like let it be by itself and monitor it. I don't know. Depending on how much you paid for it, I might just toss it. Not worth burning down the house. I'm Lemonson. Is iDRAC 8 Express easy to use? Looking at a Dell 730 XT. Nice. Okay, good to know. Dell R730. 730. I gotta look into this because I have a Dell as well. And I have a 710, but I know about 720s. I haven't really dabbled in 730, so I may do some upgrades at some point, but this has got me good by for sure. And I would love to upgrade just to get a newer iDRAC, because I think I can upgrade the iDRAC alone, but I kind of don't want to touch this server because, yeah, at some point I want to just migrate to something else and then just resell this one. VLANs aren't too hard, pretty simple to set up. Took me around 10 minutes. Oh, sorry. I'll read that one. Took me about 10 minutes to set up 2 VLANs, 0 experience. That's awesome. I just, yeah, I need to set aside the time to do it and really think about it. But yeah, DJ Cherokee TV. What brand and model of the mic? This is the Rode Pod mic. So if you're on Twitch, which you are because you're in this channel, I have in my panels. There's a gear button. If you press that gear button, it'll take you out to a lot of the gear I use. And I have a section just on microphones that I think are awesome, have good reviews, or I've used myself in the past. So yeah, iDRAC is simple and very straightforward. I totally agree. Guy on eBay selling a 730 for $600 a piece, so I'm thinking about buying it today. That sounds like a heck of a deal depending on what's coming with it. My recommendation is get it without drives if you can get it for a decent price, or with drives. Because I had these SAS drives that I thought, yeah, this will be perfect. 2 terabytes each, 6 of them. But at the end of the day, I ended up replacing them all with solid states because it was just not enough storage for me for my virtual machines. Well, I was trying to do something different. It's enough for VMs, but then I was like, if I'm only gonna run VMs here, I'm totally gonna, I'm gonna run this on solid state. So yeah. iDRAC 8 Express may not have the virtual console. I think only enterprise versions have it, and I think the iDRAC 8 Enterprise needs paid license, but I may be wrong. That's funny because I've heard stuff too about getting an iDRAC and then an enterprise license you might need to buy later. So I would definitely look into that. Fortunately, I have the 6. 6 is terrible. It uses a crusty version of Java, but I didn't have to buy any additional licenses. But that's a good point. Maybe the Express, you need to pay a license to unlock enterprise features. I'm just taking notes because these are some of the things I look into. It's probably overkill, but things I need to know more about. So I kind of have my show notes, I guess. Hey, thank you for the follow. Tuxit. Hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Is that a play on Tux the Penguin? Linux? I don't know, just making this up or speculating. I love speculating so much. My wife is just like, why do you speculate on everything? And it's like, it's how my brain works. I want to know why. Oh yes, Tux, yes. Now I tell my wife, this is why I speculate, because it's where my brain goes. I automatically look at something, make some assumptions, make some theories, and then guess, my best guess, hypothesis all the time. And if I'm wrong, then I work back from there and then figure out why I was wrong. And then the next time I'll guess better. So anyways, long story short, thank you. Welcome. Appreciate it. let's go back here. Was free with the rack, so I didn't lose anything. Nice, nice. I paid a little more, but I had the small form factor version. Techno, I left it plugged in without any issues. Heating, so no clue what happened. Could have been well, server, funny how I handled PS2 connections. Yeah, maybe one of the pins were crossed or touching. I've done weird stuff like that myself, and not that you did anything weird, but I've done stuff like, I jammed like a USB header in the wrong way, turned it on, and the whole thing, I mean, it just lit up and burned before when I was building a PC. I put, I don't know, header pins in the wrong place on PCs, and so maybe something got crossed or is touching. Yeah, it's kind of scary though. Shouldn't get that hot, I don't think. I didn't think PS2s got that hot at all, or any heat. I could be wrong. What 2.5 discs do you guys recommend for servers? Yeah, it's a good question for the channel because I'm not, Asmindia. I don't have a good suggestion for that because I don't have 2.5 discs, but I should have one for that. So I will have something here. But if chat knows, like if you have a good suggestion, yeah, it would be nice to know. I think a lot of my server doesn't have the bays for the 2.5, and I considered it, but maybe my next one will. So I don't have a suggestion there, but maybe someone else does. Tux, yeah, for Linux, of course, yeah. Thank you. Talked about that. Thanks, let's check it out. I have a 24 Kingston A400 SSDs for my Dell R730, and they work great. My boot drives are Intel. Awesome. I'm French, but you speak not really fast. It's cool. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I kind of am a slow speaker. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I talk a little too slow, but it's just how my brain works. It's not that I'm thinking slow. It's just and I said this before, like my brain is usually about 2 seconds ahead of where my mouth is. I don't know if that's normal, but because of that, I think a lot while I talk. And so while I'm thinking, I'm trying not to say exactly what I'm thinking because my brain's ahead of where my mouth is. So, but anyways, yeah, thank you. Tucano, it started to smell, so definitely not what they're supposed to get to either. Yeah, either way, it's not really needed due to only having one machine. Yeah, I agree. I would, if you didn't pay much for it and it almost caught fire once, peace, I'd toss it. Only because not worth it. Not worth it for me. Although I am I do hoard tech sometimes where I'm like, maybe one day this will work or start working again, or maybe it was me, or maybe it was something else, but I don't know. Like burning, that's where I kind of draw the line for stuff. Because, I mean, if it wasn't for the current state of things, I'm not at my house a lot of the times today, and I just don't want anything catching on fire. And if it started to, obviously I get an alert because my smoke alarms are connected, so I would know. But at the same time, like, I don't know, I have dogs and like they can't get out, and, and I kind of like my house and my stuff in it. But anyways, but yeah, I wouldn't leave that thing alone. I don't know, maybe not. It's kind of scary. Yeah, like I said, smoke, it's where I draw the line. That's where it gets recycled or cut up then recycled because I don't want someone else to use it. Sorry, this message was for Asmindia. Oh yeah. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, no, that was a good question because I don't have any recommendation on those size drives. Outside of SSDs, I guess I should say. So I thought you meant spinning drives. But yeah, if you mean SSDs, I do have some recommendations. I mean, I have some, again, in that gear link below. Most of the time, I don't know, I'm a sucker for Samsung SSDs because they're blazing fast. They're consumer grade hard drives, but at the same time, if you have them on a, RAID adapter or RAID Z2 or however you configure them, yeah, I'm okay with losing a cheap one. If I have some continuity in there, like a RAID where I know something goes bad, I know it needs to be replaced, and I'll replace it. So yeah, I do have some SSD ones. I don't use a lot of like enterprise SSDs. Maybe I should someday, but the way I look at it is it has a warranty. I'm running a RAID. and it's for home or home lab use. So I'm like, one dies, it's under warranty, send it in, get it replaced. It's not under warranty. It's been 3 to 5 years, however long the warranty is. And yeah, I wore it out a ton. Sometimes it's hard for me to pay the overhead for enterprise stuff. I try to do like, and this is me for home, for my own use. I try to do consumer grade most of the time because things are built pretty good. I mean, I don't know. And things are not built pretty good. Things are going to fail, whether it's enterprise or consumer price, like kind of in between, things are going to fail. And so you just got to protect yourself. And so I protect myself with either, ZFS or a physical rate adapter. And if it dies, I just, I call them on their warranty. But yeah. Hey, Vicop. Hey, how's it going? Hey, good to see you. I love when I talk, then pause to reflect on what I said, and then I wish I hadn't spoken in the first place. Yeah, I know what you mean. Talking, so talking is hard. I'm going to put that out there. Talking is hard. At least for me, it is. I can talk a lot, and I can ramble on about things, but sometimes I know what you mean. And I've had to do public speaking stuff, and even like in high school and college, I was like so worried about it. Even going into getting my first and second job, I was super worried about it. But at some point, I was just like, you know what, this is me, and I'm just gonna go for it. But I totally know what you mean. And especially doing things live, it's a whole nother aspect to just speaking in general, and even virtual public speaking. Like I guess this is really, informal though, but it's tough too. But yeah, so I know what you mean. Do you have a smart smoke detector you like? Oh yeah, I mean, I use Nest. So I use Nest for a lot of things, and it's all based off of me getting a Nest thermostat. It did their whole entire ecosystem thing worked for me. And so I use Nest Protect, which is their smoke alarms, and I use the wireless ones, and they're fantastic. I mean, they say those batteries on there can last, like, I think they were rated for 10 years. It's been year 6 and the battery still says good. So I could do hardwired ones, but still. Hey, Tuxit, thanks for the sub. Wow, really appreciate it. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Nice Zelda. Hopefully that appears back here. Keep me honest. Like if you don't see Zelda appear back there within 60 seconds or roughly, let me know, because I can never catch it in time. But anyways, should appear there. If not, I have some code to fix. But anyways, smart. Yeah. So anyways, I'm kind of all over the place with smart stuff. I know that Nest, kind of now has this walled garden, a lot like Apple, and so it kind of stinks like getting that information like across ecosystems. But that's what I use, and it's great. I mean, anytime there's ever been smoke in the kitchen, it's telling me everywhere. It's telling me in apps. It's telling me on 3 other smoke alarms. It's telling me everywhere that, hey, there's like smoke in here. And I don't know. I've trusted them so far. We'll see. My house hasn't come close to even burning down, so we'll know if that happens. And then it does carbon monoxide too. Like, I'm not here to promote Nest stuff. That's just what I use. And so those were the couple things that I found that I liked about them, and they've been working okay for me. Maybe if these are going to stay in the house until we move, if we ever do, and maybe I'll evaluate some new stuff then. Hopefully IoT and this conglomerate of, Amazon, Google and Apple of deciding how, interconnectivity should work across the 3 has settled by then, because I think they're all in it together to develop standards for IoT stuff, which would be fantastic, because then IoT makers can make stuff that adhere to a standard, and then consumers don't have to suffer. Because right now we all suffer when IoT stuff's not super standardized, because you got people who don't want to play with each other. You got probably not Microsoft, but because they don't do a ton of IoT stuff, but they run a lot of services that do. And but then you got Amazon, Google, Apple, who all want you to be in their ecosystem. And so everyone does that. And they're like, okay, well, we're closing off our ecosystem. You must be on our devices to communicate with our ecosystem, which stinks for us, for the people buying this stuff. Because now we got to make bets and choices, on companies rather than, individual products that we like. So I'm talking way too much about IoT stuff and politics around there. But it's a good thing that they're coming together to help create these, standards for interoperability between ecosystems, hopefully between ecosystems, at least how they're going to communicate to their own services, which should open some doors. So anyways, hello, I found you on the Alpha Gaming server. Yeah, unknown. Hey, how's it going? Yeah, Alpha Gaming, it's awesome. I can't thank, well, so Harris Heller, if we're talking about Alpha Gaming, and Sam Woodhull, like I can't thank those guys enough for what they do. I can't thank them enough for what they do. Everything that they've done for like gaming and streaming community and social and design and editing has just, I've eaten it all up. And I don't know if you can tell from the stuff that I'm doing, but largely inspired by Harris Heller and Sam Woodhull. So 100%, hands down, like a lot of the stuff that I do comes from them because they have a good insight into streaming, into social media, into video on demand. And so I just learn so much from those guys. And I can't say thank you enough. Even this music right here, the music that you hear on every single video that I do for the last, I'd say 3 months, has been from Harris Heller. 100% free, 100% copyright free, no attribution. And you know what? It's fantastic. Like the music you're hearing now, every YouTube video from him. And he doesn't ask for anything other than like, listen to it. And I get it. He makes, royalties off of that, as he should, because he owns the content. But he's tapped into a lot of things and shared that information with a lot of people that I don't think they otherwise would have known unless they're an insider. And so he's an insider sharing information with non-insiders. And that might sound, hopefully that doesn't sound wrong. I'm not saying like he's an insider. He just has he's tapped in to a lot of markets and has a lot of information and loves sharing it. So thank you. That was a long spiel about Alpha Gaming. So if you haven't heard about Alpha Gaming, 100% check it out. Awesome channel if you're interested in gaming, streaming, or creating YouTube videos or design for your stream or design for your YouTube videos. You'll see a lot of similarities because heavily inspired by them. So sorry, I just talked about Alpha Gaming for probably 2 minutes straight, but it wouldn't be fair for me not to ever acknowledge the work that they're doing, and especially Harris. Like, absolutely, like he inspired me so much about 6 months ago, about 8 months ago now. He inspired me so much that I created a YouTube channel. And so I had a YouTube channel that was just games. And like when I used to listen to him and his videos and how he talks about, just some of the people call it grind, but some of the things that you have to do in order to create a successful YouTube channel, I just ate it all up and I soaked it all up. And so I can't thank him enough. And one of the things he said was, and I still remember, he says, make one video a week, every week. And I've made at least one video a week, every week in the year 2020. And so that was my goal for 2020, one a week. And that's what I've done. And so anyways, you guys may not know who he is. I highly advise checking out Harris Heller, Alpha Gaming, and Sam Woodhull, because they are my North Star when it comes to a lot of this stuff, because I don't have experience in it. So anyways, I'm so far behind. I just think that I think that they deserve a lot of credit for what they do. Thank you so much for the follow. That one came a little bit late. Or it didn't even pop up. So I appreciate, I think I just, Razb, sorry, it didn't pop up in my chat. But anyways, yeah, so I'm totally rambling about that. and making sure now I'm getting caught up on other comments. Kahlo, I'm upgrading my home lab from a 4 RPA 3. Oh, nice. You have some recommendations for in living room home lab, low cost, low power, NUC extended needs, NAS, VPN, personals. Yeah. So that's a good question. And I think a lot of people, what I see happening lately is a lot of folks using Intel NUCs. So I have an old Intel NUC. They're even more awesome than they used to be. And that's because they're a little more expandable than they used to be when I bought mine. With mine, it was like, add a RAM chip or add a solid state drive or, M.2 drive that was SATA speeds. And our NVMe drive. And I think they've evolved a long way. So if you're going to be running a lot of that stuff that's like in living room, and you want to go low power, I'm just throwing this out there that I think Intel NUC is a good choice because you get everything in one, and it can be low powered enough but still powerful enough, and you won't have fan noise going all the time. And that's me just saying that without really having done a ton of home lab stuff on a Intel NUC. But with Intel NUCs, make sure you get a CPU that can do virtualization. And so I think that those are, I think they're a good value. You get a lot in a small package. But if you want to go, really, PC, grade hardware or something, a bigger form factor, I'll have to do some research because there are some low powered options, but the low noise one is kind of hard because you need either a lot of passive cooling or big fans. And most of the time those are kind of tough to do, but I think there are some out there. But these are great questions and things that I've been thinking about in the back of my head, just haven't solidified a lot of it. NaviCap News use Nest Protect as well. Found out that if I ever do anything major renovation wise with the ceiling, I am also required to hardwire ones, Washington code anyways. Debating moving that, but it's a couple $100 and I have to respend as I use wireless with a thermostat. Yeah, my thermostat's wired. The power going to it is, and obviously the internet, the network is wireless, but yeah. It's I guess I should have checked code here. I maybe I'll have to do that if I ever move out, but wireless ones are fantastic. I still can't believe how efficient they are and how long the batteries in those things last. It's awesome. Unknown, dropped to follow instantly because the stream looks very professional and this was my first time seeing you live. Thank you. So thank you. And thanks for bringing up Alpha Gaming because there's never a good time. Well, there's always a good time, but there's never a good moment to give them the credit they deserve. And that's both Harris and Sam C, because Sam Woodall. I think his Twitter might be Sam C, because they deserve a lot of credit for everything that goes on in my own stream because I've been taking notes on theirs. So thank you. Good info. Thanks, DZ. Okay, DZ, no problem. Wireless in 2 rooms, thermostat, they work great. Cutting edge, smart tech, but bumps in stream. Rasby. Okay, there it is. Now I see it. Thank you for the follow. It didn't appear in chat. I don't know if that's Twitch or my bot. Could be either. Usually I bet on Twitch because my bot, at least in this sense, is pretty solid, but there's some scary code in how I figure it out, get follow events. So anyways, thank you. Thanks for the videos, man. Got my Proxmox stuff running because of you. Yes, that's awesome. Running my Home Assistant and home automation on it. Awesome. Yeah, I've done some stuff with Home Assistant. I can't wait to see what I was talking about earlier. If Microsoft, I keep saying Microsoft because they're usually one of the big players, but not in IoT. If Amazon, Apple, and Google can play fair or play together, hopefully we'll see some awesome stuff come for Home Assistant too, because I'm a fan. Takano might just end up using this 8-port unmanaged switch as a test switch for my untrusted LAN. Good idea. Testing products, fixing PCs and family. I want to ensure cheap devices don't try. to phone home. Yeah, it's a good point. Just give them zero access to, well, the internet. I don't know what you do, but maybe you bring, yeah, or create firewall rules or something for just devices you do trust. Yeah, it's a great idea. I've man, my days of fixing people's PCs has been kind of, I don't want to say over. I think I fix my mom's at least like once or twice a year. I wouldn't say lucky, but their stuff has been pretty solid lately. 5 years ago, I was just like, I felt like every month I was fixing a family member's machine. Now things seem pretty solid. I don't know if that's a hardware or software thing, but yeah, I think it's a lot to do with software. Tuxit, your videos are very good. I discovered your channel with the Proxmox backup server video, but your home lab videos are gold. Keep up the great work. Thanks. Thank you. I appreciate it. All new to me, still figuring it out. Glad you enjoy it. So thanks for the feedback. Navy Cap, the wireless smoke detectors are fine until you do major renovations. Was told by a code inspector that I had my wiring inspected. Oh, you shouldn't have any issues. That's interesting. Yeah, I thought about hardwiring mine in because I thought, well, why not? I didn't trust the batteries. I thought, oh, I'm going to be replacing these things in, 6 months, like you do with 9-volt batteries, which it seems more often than that. But I've been super impressed by how long the batteries on Nest work. Like they go into like super low power mode, and they don't even connect to the internet. I don't think they're always connected. They have like, I don't know, they do some kind of magic where they totally sleep except for their sensors. And then, they do system tests once a week or however often you schedule it. And it's so awesome. Like I'm rarely home for it, but lately I've been home for it all. And you can hear them beeping and listening for their own beep. And it's really cool. But that's only when they do their own self-check tests. But their systems are awesome. I think they're awesome. But yeah, hopefully they help. And I think even in the wired version, they still include a backup for battery backup, which is fantastic because then you're always running on, your main power and then switch to battery backup if the power ever goes out, which I think is awesome. To kind of honestly, Techno, the one that really pushed me over the edge to pull the trigger and just go all out, I found out about you from a random Reddit comment saying how they were lucky to talk to you. They're like, oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm always like, when just technology in general, I'm super passionate about technology, as you may or may not have been able to tell. Like everything that's going on in here and everything that I show, like I've always been super passionate about technology. I think it came from video games and stuff like that. But anyway, and so I struggle sometimes because I just don't want to, I do a lot of things outside of work that I think are awesome, and I talk about them. And so, I'm always scared, like, oh man, am I telling people the right way to do this, or am I setting people up for success or for failure? And so that's something I worry about too. That's always in the back of my head, like, did I tell them to do this the right way, or is there a better way to do this? So I worry about that a lot. So thank you. But with like all of my videos, just, be sure to, fact check, or, do it a different way. Because a lot of the times I'll talk about, hey, here's like the minimal way to get it going so that I can teach this, and there might be better ways. Like in my Rancher, I run it single node, no HA, Docker version, which is, what Docker says is the test version, but it's the simplest way to get exposed to Rancher. And then from there, you can just decide like, you know what, I want high availability. Well, you know what, you already know what Rancher's about by setting it up the easy way. Here's, then hopefully people go off on their own and say, this is something I care about. I'm going to do this different here, and I'm going to swap this out here and make this change here. So that's what I hope. Yeah, that's my hopes, but I appreciate it. Rasby 906, have you ever had any issues with Proxmox and memory leaks? My VM for a Home Assistant starts out at 8% usage, but over a period of time it crept up on me. Yeah, I don't know if that's a Proxmox problem. or if that's, the VM that you're running. So is that a Proxmox problem? Is that the operating system's problem that you're running it on? Or is that the service, which is Home Assistant, is that their problem? That's a hard one to tell. If you only allocate so much memory to the virtual machine, the memory leak seems to be something in the OS or the service that's running. I don't know the ins and outs of Home Assistant and what it's doing, how it's cleaning up after itself, how much stuff it keeps in memory. I mean, maybe it just keeps a ton of stuff in memory until it can't anymore, which a lot of services do. They're just like, cache everything. Like, I have all this memory, I'm going to cache every single thing, and then I'll do last in first out type of deal, LIFO, right? And they're like, okay, well, now I'm out of cache, I'm just going to start evicting all the stuff that's been here the longest. So I don't really know the answer to that, but you could restrict it down to a a super low amount of memory and see if it affects performance. And if it doesn't, give it a tiny bit of memory. And then, obviously you want to check to see, if it's paging to disk. You want to avoid that. You want to use memory, but you obviously don't want it to use as much as you possibly have, because some things will just grow indefinitely because the way that they're designed. But I don't know. I'm just speculating. Over time, it's been difficult balancing YouTube content, Twitch, and your daily job. Yeah, it has, DZ. Good question. It totally has. I'm not going to lie. If I wasn't stuck at home right now, it'd be even harder, which was the case, in the first part of the year. It was hard. But I think I've gained a lot of efficiencies in the tools I use and the process I use to where now I could kind of make up for that. But if we went back to going into work every day, it would be tough again, but hopefully I've optimized enough to where I'm like, I can kind of gauge in my head after I shoot a video, like, am I going to be editing on Friday night? Or, will I be done editing Thursday night? Because it takes me a long time to edit stuff. I had to figure this all out myself. So it is tough. It is tough. It takes a lot of dedication to say, I'm going to set aside this time to do this. You got to be motivated to do it, and then set aside, these pockets of time over the week to do the rest. If it's code, or something I'm doing on my own, I can usually do it until it's done. But when it comes to videos, it's like, man, it's a lot of work. I don't, hopefully you recognize that it is a ton of work, because it is. It's shoot the video, then start editing. Well, it's, fix audio or figure out how to fix audio, figure out what's wrong, and then edit, synchronize, chop, edit, rough cut, and then, get a semi-okay rough cut, and then refine it some more, and then effects. And yeah, it's a ton of work. So I appreciate it. It's I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. This is not my final form. I'll tell you that. I don't know what my final form is, but I've been figuring it out over the last couple of months and just trying to hone in on what it is. Techno, I just had a natural interest in tech stuff since I was little, according to my parents, and so they allowed me to grow in that direction, which I'm super thankful for. I totally agree. Having parents that support your interests are super helpful. And then, whether you have that or not, I think it's a good thing if your parents support what you're into, for sure. When I was younger, I always did my own thing. I had a big family, so I would just go deep in video games or something I was interested in, whether birds, video games, technology, and so they allowed me to do that, and I think that was super helpful too. I was a big nerd when I was younger, and but I don't mind. I've been my whole life. Navy Cop, rolling back to tech, I was actually able to build out a couple of Rancher Docker instances, Organizer, nice. I want to check out Organizer, Pi-hole, etc., along with your tutorials, and then I decided to add a few successfully on my own, but discovered that I need to build out my server hardware. Gotcha. I use more consumer grade, middle of the market stuff. and ran into disk pressure errors and dragged everything offline. Yay, NavyCop, I ran into disk pressure stuff too. And I put it in our Discord. So it's in the Discord, it's in the Rancher channel. So I ran into it last night too. So I've been like migrating everything like crazy the last 24 hours. And I ran into that too. And I figured out, well, I suspect that it's because of the way that if you're using Ubuntu or whatever the disk wizard that sets up your Linux volumes is setting it up, I guess, wrong. They think right. Some people think right. Some people think wrong. But see the post that I put in the Rancher server. And so they're like only allocating, 40% of the drive volume that then anything that runs on top of that OS will use. And so Kubernetes is seeing that and saying like, hey, you're about 86% of whatever, 80, 50, 60, I forget what the threshold is, but they're saying like, you're within a dangerous threshold of the LVM or the drive that I have to use. And so I think what it starts doing is evicting those pods and saying like, you're out of here because drive space is getting, within a threshold. And then, so Kubernetes is saying, hey, I need to have at least one, I'm scaled to one. I got to have one pod available. So it's spinning up another one. And then Kubernetes is saying, wait a second, like you're exceeding a threshold, which is the disk pressure threshold. And so it's evicting them. And I saw it last night. I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be where I, I'm never going to figure this one out. And so what I ended up doing was resizing my drives, setting the threshold. All the commands are in that post. And now haven't had it since. And I run some pretty big containers when I'm migrating my public stuff. Some are 800, 900 meg containers, and so pretty big ones. And haven't seen it since. So long story short, yeah, you should check out that post. The disk pressure stuff. It's not a fault of Rancher or a fault of Kubernetes. They're being Rancher and being Kubernetes. It's how the disk wizard in Ubuntu is setting up your drive for you. And I thought it was weird too. I'm like, I gave this thing 80 gigs, but it's only saying I have 36 available, and it's, already at 75% usage. I'm like, I just set this thing up for the first time. Anyways, but I'm not a Linux expert, but I found something that helped me. So maybe that'll help you. Raspberry, that could be. I'm still learning a lot about VMs. I started out on a Pi. Hey, and yeah, I did too. I started out on a Pi 2. On Pi 2? I started out on it was probably, a Pi 1. But I've always run kind of my own home lab type stuff, like whether it be OSs or virtualization. But my Pi-hole server was running on a Raspberry Pi for a long time. So it's perfectly capable. But like once you start to want more than one or two things running on a Raspberry Pi, that's where I think, you might need to expand. But yeah, back to the Pi for Pi-hole and playing around with Rancher and server until I can beef it up with some more, which is fine. Yeah, totally. Yeah, Pi-hole's the tough one to get running in a container. It can be done, but man, it's tough, and it's tough for Kubernetes and it's tough for Rancher. But even yesterday I was migrating that and I struggled. I hit a wall for like 10-15 minutes and like, what didn't I do right? I seriously had to go back to my own video like step by step. I'm like pausing it. It was so like meta, like I'm like watching that and I'm like, oh, that's what I did. But yeah, it's that's the tough one. All the other ones are pretty easy, roughly easy, unless they do if they do run on the host network. That's where it's the easy way out, but you're really just exposing all the ports from the container to the host where they share the same network. But I like to do individual ports. Blows my mind on the quality of your work. So professional, awesome information. Thanks, DZ. Appreciate it. Yeah, this is like my videos are a little more produced and I think a little more professional. It's funny because like my wife's friends are like, you seem so professional in your videos. And I'm like, I don't know. I kind of go into this like, I don't know. I I used to do a lot of demos at a place I worked at, and so that's my mindset when I do YouTube videos is like, how would I demo this in front of a crowd of people who like technology that may or may not know a lot about that technology, and it's a fine balance between the people who know everything about that technology and the people who know nothing about that technology. So yeah, so I kind of go into this enterprise like, how do I demo this thing to a group of people who like tech? Whether they, and it's more of the my thought is a group. It's if I was going to talk to an IT department where everybody does something a little bit different, may or may not know what you're talking about, but they like tech. And so that's how that's what I think my audience is, at least on YouTube. I try to go after, or the people who are not in an IT department, but are super interested in IT or technology in general. So, but I can't help that because that's how I used to, present, back in the day, doing more enterprise kind of presentations. But yeah, thank you. Yes, logs are the problem in HAS. Okay, move them to Influx. P.S. Tim, thanks for the answer. I am first time live here too, and I found your videos 5 days, and now my PC run Proxmox from USB. Whoa, just the test run, and thinking more about Serious Home Lab to replace all the Raspberry Pis. That's awesome. And you don't have to, go and replace all your Raspberry Pis. You can totally mix and match. It's kind of what I did. I shuffled around my Raspberry Pis. I'm like, okay, Pi-hole. If I can get this running, on physical or on virtual or containerizing it, I'll put it there. And then, now my Raspberry Pi can do something else. And, I ended up mounting one in this picture frame back here and doing all other kinds of stuff because there's so many great uses for Raspberry Pi. And it's usually my test bed too. Where I'm like, hey, I want to run this thing, and not have to, worry about it. It's pretty awesome. They're pretty fun. They're awesome little devices, especially if you do like, what is it, RetroArch or the Retro Gaming Station. Oh, so awesome. Navy Cop, I did notice that when I added space through Proxmox, it sees they added space right away, but Ubuntu server doesn't scale it up. It needs to have the whole instance restarted. There are a couple times where you have to flew through some of the commands speeding up the actual operation that it pause and yell at you to slow that down. Yeah. Yeah, I try to include like some of the important commands, in Discord, and so those are there while they're links to the GitHub documentation that I have there. So those are there. But yeah, if there's ever a command you're like, what the heck did you use here? Just let me know or open a pull request on my documentation and plug it in there. Because simple ones like mkdir, ls, pwd, like I don't put those all in there, but there are some times when I think of including something critical in documentation and they're not there. So yeah, let me know. That's what I noticed. Now that I started using VMs, I don't have such a big use for Pis now. Yeah, I agree. But I'm thinking of making some wall-mounted home assistant touchscreens. I've seen some of those floating around on the Googles. I also have an empty arcade cabinet, so I was thinking about use for a RetroPie, but I've never had the chance to finish. That's sweet. Like that is sweet. Like I have a RetroPie, and I love it. It's I used to bring it to work, and a lot of my coworkers, I call them my friends. A lot of my friends there at work, we used to play over lunch, play some stuff. It's super fun. What a great little project. But I've never done like a cabinet. A buddy of mine way back in the day used to do video game repair, and he's now like, doing this whole like mobile arcade that he can bring to your house. But anyways, long story short, we built one of those back on a PC and emulating like, I don't know, JNS and stuff. And he was into video game repair, and I knew how to set this up on a PC. So we built him this is an old crusty computer, and it didn't matter because it was going in the cabinet. We did it with an old PC and set it up. And then he actually, for all of the buttons, he had buttons from his video game repair stuff. He then took a keyboard and like cut up the keyboard and mapped those keys to buttons. And then in JNS or whatever we were using at the time, we'd map them and get it all set up. It was super awesome. And so we didn't have anything like RetroPie then, the actual RetroArch, or I forget what it is, the actual gaming station, I think is called, where we can actually switch between, different consoles and stuff like that. So it's really come a long way. Like, yeah, RetroPie right now is like what I wanted way back then, because it was so hard to switch games. Like, we had to go, okay, get out the mouse, okay, close, file open, new ROM. Yeah, it's awesome. I think it's such a cool little project. An arcade bar top, awesome cabinet for a school project. So now all the students use it. Teacher funded all of it, and it was for shop class. I offered to take it. I was offered to take it, but I decided to leave it so other students can see what they can make if they put dedication to it. That's awesome. Yeah, the tabletop ones are awesome too. That same buddy, his name's Josh, he had one that I think was like asteroids and something else, and like it was just cool. Like even as a furniture piece, just having something like that, like a tabletop game where you're looking down, what a great like conversation piece in a place where you gather. You can have drinks. It's all glass, so you don't have to worry about spilling on it, and I don't know, whatever. I just think they're really awesome. Never really great at asteroids, but I still think it's an awesome idea. And just like a nice, I guess, piece of furniture that's also, I guess, an art piece. And that's kind of what I made this. Tried to make this more like an art tech piece, even though it's not a ton of art. I did frame it, and I did use these awesome rainbow colored ribbons from our Raspberry Pi that goes to the LED panel. But yeah, it's I don't know, it's cool stuff. Raspberry Pis can do so many awesome things. Yeah, good to know. Awesome. Well, I hate to do this, and I have it in the title, but today is going to be a short stream for a couple of reasons, and I do apologize that it was late. Like I said, my brother, who lives in Hawaii, called me quarter till, and we talked for he might have called even before that, but we talked for an hour, so we haven't talked in a while. So a lot going on in the world, so I need to get caught up with my brother. And then I need to cut a little bit short because I got to do a couple things around the house. But I wanted to hop on today just to make sure that you guys could all connect and just make sure that, I was here like I said it would be on a Saturday, because I can't say it unless I mean it. So anyways, thank you guys so much for coming, for hanging out. There was a subscription in there, so thank you so much. I think it was Tuxit. Sorry, the name slips me right now because I don't have the screen I usually have in. Tuxit. Oh yeah, I got it. Thank you so much. There were follows in there too. Really appreciate it. If you have more questions, want to continue the conversation, or you want to just get in touch with a lot of the people that are in the channel here today, if you're not already, join the Discord. You can use !Discord, or you can click on the link below that says join, I think. So really appreciate it. And again, sorry, no demos today, and hate to cut it short, but got to do a couple things here around the house. So thank you so much. Yeah, there you go. It's there too. So thanks for running that command. Thank you. Have a great weekend. I will be back on Tuesday evenings, 7 Central. Hopefully we'll demo some stuff. If you have some ideas of technology you want to see, you want to walk through, you want to virtualize, you want to containerize, you want to do something, let me know in Discord. I love seeing what you guys are interested in. And if there's something specifically you want me to walk through or talk through, we can do it together. So I'll be back on Tuesday. Thank you so much for hanging out, and have a great weekend. Stay safe, folks. See you later.